A graduate of the University of Connecticut in Stores, Mark Anthony Brevard holds the Bachelor of Science degree in Communication and Sciences. Upon graduation from UConn, Mr. Brevard began employment at Xerox Corporation in New York City, where he worked for 18 years. During his 18 years at Xerox, Mark advanced within the company's marketing division, regularly holding the title of #1 sales rep in New York and #5 in the country. He received 6 President Club awards, enabling him to travel nationally and internationally. In 1994, Mr. Brevard became the headmaster of Love Christian Academy, a position that he held for 10 years. Mr. Brevard has completed classes in education and early childhood at Housatonic College, as well as the Abeka curriculum, which included administrative and curriculum studies at Pensacola College in Pensacola, Florida. Today, Mr. Brevard serves as the Community Awareness Outreach Coordinator for the New England Donor Services. This position allows Mark to educate, promote, and spread the message of organ and tissue donation and transplantation throughout the region. A former president of the Stanford chapter of the NAACP, Mr. Brevard is also a member of Donate Life America and the Association of Multicultural Affairs and Transplantation. He has received numerous community, local, and national awards, including the Pinnacle Award for producing creative events and programming, where creative writers wrote original scripts derived from the stories of real-life people who retold their stories of donating life. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Mark Anthony Brevard.
My name is Mark Brevard, and I serve as the Community Outreach Coordinator for the New England Donor Services. My job is to actually spread outreach, share information, and educate persons on the importance of being an organ donor. There are a lot of myths in our community in regards to organ donation, and as I said at the table back there, a lot of people did come by the table, had questions. Some people kind of tiptoed by my table because they didn't want to talk about it, but it's something as a community we need to talk about. And I would just like to thank Valerie Watts for allowing us to have a platform to share this important information at this time. So I just want to give you a few statistics. There are over 125,000 persons in the United States who are waiting for life-saving organs. So to put that in perspective, if you watch the Super Bowl, if you fill the Super Bowl stadium 4 times, that's the amount of people who are waiting for a life-saving organ. 23 persons die each day because they cannot get a transplant of any type. So you may ask how Dream Big correlates with organ donation. So to a person who's waiting for a heart, they're dreaming one day that they receive a heart so they can feel a heartbeat and touch the heart of a loved one. For those persons who need to have a full life, they dream of having a full and productive life again. For a child, and I had the opportunity to meet a young black child who was 9 years old in California, who's from Baltimore, Maryland. He had no limbs, and his mother dreamed for him to have limbs at one time. And the little boy, Zion, actually received a bilateral transplant, which allowed him to use his hands. So his mother's dream of just seeing her young son play with a Game Boy, throw a ball, or just something simple as she grabbing his hand to walk across the street, that's a dream also that she had. To the many men and women who need kidneys, and I'm sure all of us in this building knows of someone who's on dialysis. Those persons go sometimes 3 times a week to receive treatment, and they're waiting for a kidney. So those persons want to lead a productive life and not be able to go to dialysis 3 times a week. And for the person who can't see, we also do cornea transplantations. Imagine the dream of having eyes again so you can see the blue skies, the green grass, and just see your loved one's tender smile at one time or another. So basically what I'm trying to say, transplantation is a dream. There are 125,000 persons who are dreaming of a better quality of life. Now, I could sit here and speak about this all day. However, I wanted to bring someone to share on my presentation who lives this, who has a dream, who shared a dream, and she's going to give you her testimony in regards to transplantation. So I present to you Carolyn Fletcher.
Good afternoon, everyone. Grace and peace be unto you. Thank you for having me here. I'm going to put a face to this cause that we're speaking about this afternoon. This is my son, Jarrell Fletcher. He's the person I had dreams for. He was my heart, my soul, the apple of my eye, the reason my heart beat. And in 1998, that dream was shattered when he was in an automobile accident and died from a traumatic brain injury. When I arrived at the hospital, the nurses were looking at me really strange, and they said, "Are you by yourself?" I said, "Yes," and they said, "Well, you need to call someone. Your son is in a coma." So I knew right then I was in big trouble. I started seeing chaplains coming. There was a person from the New England Organ Bank who approached me, and I was like, not very nice to her. I told her where to go and how to get there because God's not going to take my only child. As the days progressed and I stood there at his bedside watching this brain activity decrease, go up and down, up and down, up and down, and the doctors finally came and said there was nothing else they could do, I had to make that decision. He's 16 years old. My family never was introduced or thought about anything to do with donation. All I was dreaming about was this kid going to college and living a productive life. I always made sure, we live in Connecticut, so he attended magnet schools. He attended a private college, Catholic high school. He played 3 sports. This kid was going somewhere. And have my dream shattered like that, it was just something I couldn't bear. So I decided when I went back in the room and watched his heart beating through his chest, even though there was no brain activity, that donating his organs was the right thing to do. So I donated his heart, kidney, liver, and pancreas. There were 5 people who benefited from his organs. They wrote me letters thanking me for the gift of life and their dreams now becoming a reality. A 34-year-old woman who was not able to have children received one of his kidneys, and her dream of having kids came true. Thank you. There was an 11-year-old boy who was in the hospital for a valve transplant. It went bad, his valves blew out, and he was placed on the top of the heart transplant list, and he received my son's heart. He's 29 years old now with his own children. So his dream came true through my son's donation. So what I like to say to people when I go out with Mark and speak is that, especially Black people, we never talk about organ donation. And any one of us in this room could be struck by my situation at any point in time. So I always like to encourage people to at least have a conversation with your family. The worst thing you can ever do is be placed in that situation where I was, where I'm faced with a tragedy and having to make the decision about organ donation. I don't know if he would have wanted his organs donated knowing the type of child he was. He probably would have said, "Yeah, Ma, do that," because he always liked to help people. His elementary school teachers used to tell me he's the kind of kid who does not like bullying. He always would befriend the kids that other kids picked on. So I know this would have been his dream. If he were here to discuss with me about donation, I know he would have said, "Please, Ma, do that if something happens to me." But I encourage all of you, if you're not an organ donor, if you don't want to become one, at least talk to your family about it. We have people who have kidney disease. I have a 44-year-old nephew right now who's going to be placed on the kidney transplant list. So this is something that's very passionate to me. It's something I like to go out and talk to our people about because it's so important. So if I can leave one message with you, talk to your kids, talk to your family, please think about it. If you don't want to become a donor, at least have a conversation about it. Thank you.
So thank you. In closing, I would just like to say that Carolyn is one of our advocates for donation and transplantation in our New England community also, especially in our community. And in January, I had the honor of going with her. She was chosen throughout New England. Her son, Jarrell, was represented at the Rose Bowl Parade on the float. They did a florogram of him on the float, and she was our representative in that parade, and we were there in California in regards to donation and transplantation and bringing education. So again, in closing, please come by our table. You don't have to sign up or do anything. I just want to educate you, take information, you take it home, because it's something that's needed, especially in our community, and I thank you for this platform and this time. God bless.
I think the most important thing I forgot to say in my speech, I did get to meet my son's heart recipient. He's lives in Macon, Georgia, but he was transplanted at Boston Children's Hospital, so I was able to go there and meet him, and you just can't even imagine what it was like when I met that boy and put my hand on his chest and felt my son's heartbeat. So please.
Assistant Chief Juanita Holmes was appointed to the New York City Police Department in July 1987 and is currently the commanding officer of Patrol Bureau Queens North. Commander Holmes began her career on patrol, covering the 9th, 10th, and 13th precincts. She excelled as a new officer. Her journey towards excellence began as she progressively climbed the law enforcement ladder and was promoted to the rank of sergeant in December of 1995. In 1998, she was assigned to Patrol Borough Bronx Investigations Unit, and from there, Commander Holmes continued to study and further her education, thus being promoted to the rank of lieutenant in May 2002. She was subsequently assigned to Housing Bureau Bronx, Queens. Because of her strong ambition and work ethic, she successfully completed the captain's exam and was promoted to the rank of captain in June 2007. So, in June 2008, a short year later, Captain Holmes was assigned as the commanding officer of Police Service Area Number 2, displaying her leadership skills and dedication towards the community, and on August 28, 2009, Captain Holmes was promoted to the rank of Deputy Inspector. The next rung of the ladder led her to July 2010, when she was assigned as the new commanding officer of the 81st Precinct. She was then promoted to Inspector on January 27, 2012. Inspector Holmes excelled in her efforts of improving community relations and reducing crime within the 81st Precinct. And as a result of her success, she was designated the Executive Officer of the Training Bureau. While assigned to the Training Bureau, she was promoted to the rank of Deputy Chief and designated the Commanding Officer of the Chief of Department's Domestic Violence Unit. Well, finally, in September 2016, Deputy Chief Juanita Holmes was promoted to her current rank of Assistant Chief. She became the Commanding Officer of Patrol Bureau Queens North. Assistant Chief Juanita Holmes has made New York City history, becoming the first African-American female to ever command a patrol bureau. Ladies and gentlemen, unfortunately, Chief Juanita Holmes can't be here today because of tragedy that has befallen her family, but in her stead, we have one of her colleagues, Sergeant Carleen Brown, who will read a statement. Thank you.
So now I'm going to read to you the speech that my boss had prepared to read to you today. I am Juanita Holmes, a God-loving daughter, mother, sister, and friend. It is all of these positions that were of great contributions in my career. I am an assistant chief with the New York City Police Department. I will have completed 30 years of service in July. As a result of unwavering hard work, I have successfully passed 4 promotional exams, while serving in the boroughs of Manhattan, Queens South, the Bronx, and Brooklyn. It was my tenure in Brooklyn that proved my capability to excel in the field of policing. While there, I was one of 2 women ever to serve as a commanding officer of a precinct. However, I was the first African American woman to do so. My success led to 2 discretionary promotions. For those of us that are not familiar with promotional system in the police department, a discretionary promotion is based on merit. It's determined by how well your superiors felt you performed in your assignment. After leaving Brooklyn, I was given the position of the commanding officer of the department's training bureau, and a year later became the chief of the domestic violence unit, overseeing the entire city domestic violence program. I subsequently received 2 more discretionary promotions, making me the first African American woman in the history of the New York City Police Department in 176 years to hold the position of a patrol borough commanding officer. I'm currently assigned to Queens North, where I oversee 8 precincts and approximately 2,000 members. In a male-dominated field, this was not easy, but ambition and determination helped me to stay the course. I currently hold a position with the department's Women Leadership Committee, formed by the police commissioner to ensure that women are getting their fair share, in addition to encouraging them to take promotional exams. The New York City Police Department is currently 17% women and has been that for the past 10 years. Therefore, it's only naturally that the recruitment of women stay at the top of this committee's list. Imagine in a male-dominated field, such as the police department, a man noticed the lack of women within the department, as well as within the upper echelon, and deemed it concerned. The New York Police Department has come a long way, especially when there was a time when women were hired as matrons and only used for searching female prisoners or overseeing juveniles, AKA babysitting. In the 1900s, women were finally allowed to become a police officer. The only difference was that a woman required a college degree, while the men did not. Women were not allowed to have male partners or take promotional exams. They actually, at one time, had an all-women's precinct. It wasn't until 1964 when 2 women officers filed a lawsuit in order to take promotional exams. They were successful in doing so and opened the floodgates for all those to follow. So in closing, I salute all of the women here today and challenge you to keep breaking glass ceilings while giving women a place in history. Thank you, and God bless.